Okay, chapter 3b, number 2. What's angle B? What's Y? What's X? Okay. Well, the important part of this problem here, and this should be in your quad notebooks as well, is that the top here and the bottom here are parallel. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to focus on just the side that has the X's. Okay, so if I trace out the lines that form the X angles, then it's this AB, AD, and DC here. So let me take these and slide them over here. And here's where the 14x was, and here's where the 4x was. Now, I already know my lines are parallel, and so these two angles right here are same side interior angles, and I know that parallel lines give me same side interior angles that are supplementary. So that means that 14x and 4x are going to have to add up to 180. Now it's just a matter of plugging in, or simplifying, and divide by 18, and I get x equals 10. So that one's pretty simple, I think. Done. Okay, so let's shrink this down, and I'll put it over here. Okay, so now let's apply the same stuff to the right side. The ones that form angles B and C here are these two lines and this transversal right here. And this one's already 90. Okay, so let me move these over. Now in this one, this angle right here was y squared plus 43y. And again, these two angles here are same side interior, and we already know that the top and bottom are parallel. So using the same logic, parallel lines give same side interior angles that are supplementary. We get that y squared plus 43y and 90 should add up to be 180. Okay, now this one's going to be more complicated to solve. So it's a quadratic because there's a y squared in there. So I'm going to bring the 180 over to the other side and get y squared plus 43y minus 90 when I subtract the 180 from both sides equals 0. Remember, when you use quadratic formula or factoring, you got to have it equal 0 first. So let's take a look at this now. So some people will be able to factor that easily. If you factor it, it turns into y minus 2 and y plus 45, which you can check by foiling that out, and it equals 0. So let's say isn't that right? There we go. Okay, so right now I've got two things multiplied together to equal 0. So either the y minus 2 is 0, or the y plus 45 is 0, or they're both 0. So in this case I get y equals 2, or I get y equals negative 45. Okay, so I get two answers. I'll come back and check those in a second. But first I want to say, let's say you couldn't remember the factoring method, or you couldn't figure out how to factor it. Then you could do the quadratic formula method. Which, granted, is going to be a little bit uglier with calculations, but it's doable. Okay, so for this one, we're going to need that y, not x now, equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and if we look at our equation here, the equation was y squared plus 43y minus 90 equals 0. The a is going to be 1, because there's like an imaginary 1 that's implied right there. B is 43, and c is negative 90. So if I plug all this in, the y is going to be negative 43 plus or minus square root of 43 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 90. And notice it's negative negative, so this is really going to be plus this, right? So all over 2a, so 2 times 1. So I'm not going to work this all the way out, but I will simplify it a little bit. This will be negative 43 plus or minus the square root of whatever 43 squared is, plus 4 times 90 is 360 all over 2. And then you can keep working that out, and then you're going to get two answers, one of them when you do the plus first, and one of them when you do the minus first, and you should end up with y equals 2, or y equals negative 45. So then the next thing you have to do is you actually have to check, do they both work in the diagram? Right? So if I do 2 squared plus 43, so this is for y equals 2. 2 squared plus 43 times 2, you do get 90 there, which is good, because then 90 plus 90 is 180, and that works. If you plug in negative 45 instead, then you're going to get negative 45 squared plus 43 times negative 45. If you actually check this on your calculator, notice I put the negative 45 in parentheses before I squared it, so which is what you're supposed to do. And if I do that, you also get 90, so that's good too. So it turns out down here, both answers actually work.